This is my entire trading 212 portfolio. I want to go over the dividends that I received in January within this portfolio. Now, January historically is a pretty quiet month for me in terms of dividends, but I'm going to show you exactly how much I made and how that compares to previous years. So I only actually had 3 dividends over the course of January, and the first one, we're going to start lowest up to the highest, and we'll keep a tracker of how we're doing. The first one was Disney, and that's the first dividend I've ever had since I held the business. I got £1.74, and that was invested directly straight back into Disney at the point that I received it. Now, I've been down on Disney about 30% for what feels like 3 years now. And they had a really good week. And they announced that they're going to be increasing the dividend by 50% going forward. They've also announced some partnerships, and as a result of that, the stock flew up 24%. Now, I'm always absolutely 100% transparent on this channel, so I want to tell you exactly what I did. Well, a month ago, when I got that dividend, I reinvested it back into Disney, and I got to the point where I thought, I am no longer confident on the future of Disney. I don't think it's going to perform like I had expected it to do, and I want to reinvest that money somewhere else where I think I'm going to get a better return. So I had about 600 quid invested into Disney. I sold it, and I reinvested it into the S&P 500. Now, since that, the S&P's gone up a few percent, but certainly not by 24%. Now, it's important that I tell you all these sort of things that are happening in my portfolio, because I've said all along I am completely transparent, the successes as well as the losses, because there's not enough people out there that show that actually we make mistakes as well, and that happens in a normal portfolio. So if you're doing your portfolio and you've made some mistakes and you've lost some money on some cash, on some investments, that is completely normal. Not everyone is going to be a bloody 10-bagger, and there are too many people out there showing you probably some false gains and not the reality of what a normal portfolio looks like. So I'm always going to tell you and be completely transparent. So I sold it at 25% down. It has since recovered 24%. And I've held it for 3 years. But that's just, what can you do? That's just a reality of investing. So it was a mistake, of course, but it wasn't to know. And in reality, any time that I do sell out a business, what I've typically been doing is reinvesting that straight back into the S&P 500 if it's a US business. And then that way, I'm more than comfortable with an extra 600 quid being in there. I don't even worry about it then. I don't even need to think about it. Next dividend I received was Pepsi, and I got £9.62. Like I said, we'll keep a tracker up here. £9.62 from a quarterly paying business. Pepsi pays every quarter, and I typically get around about a tenner. Again, every single penny reinvested straight back into that business. This is my Pepsi position here. I am 2.42% up, 37 quid. I've obviously had a significant amount of dividends because I've held this from the beginning. 1,600 quid invested into there. It's a quarterly pay, as I said, and it pays at a rate of 2.95%. It's important to remember that we're not always looking for those 6, 7, 8% dividend payers, because that isn't necessarily going to be sustainable going forward. Businesses that are paying at that sort of rate typically will either look to decrease their dividend, or there might be some financial issues, or it might be that high because the stock has crashed so much. So it's not always a case of going after the dividends that are much higher in percentage. Actually, in reality, in the long term, the lower paying dividends in the long term will give you a much better yield on cost, and actually you'll get a lot more money for your money if you're investing into good businesses, of course. And the third business I got a dividend from this month was Realty Income. Good old Realty Income. You're always going to hear about that because it pays every single month. So anytime I do a dividend update, it's always going to be in there. I got £12.26 from those guys. Again, directly reinvested back into the position. And this is my Realty Income position. I've got £3,000 invested into there, 12% down. They have had probably an 18-month decline. They have picked up a little bit since. So 430 quid down, but not in the slightest bit worried. So it's not a business that I'm looking at thinking I'm worried about that, and maybe I'm going to be getting out of that at some point soon. I am really comfortable with that. Looking through the numbers, no issues whatsoever. Monthly paying dividend, as I mentioned, what are we looking at? Market cap 44 billion and a revenue of 3.34 billion and a dividend ratio of 5.73 that comes through split across the year every month. So that gives me a grand total of £23.62. Not going to retire on that. Not going to break the bank, of course. Every penny of it reinvested back into the portfolio. January is one of the, if not the quietest months in my portfolio. So that's just the way it goes. Let's have a look at how it compares over the course of the last few years. So in 2023, I got £15.20 in January. So I'm up by about 25, 20, 30% versus that. In 2022, I got £11.01 in January. In 2021, I got a few more quid actually. I got £14.65. And that was because back in 2021, I held far too many businesses. I've talked about it before. When you first start getting into investing, one of the things that you start to do is, I like the look of that business. I like the sound of that business. I buy that product. Or you have a bit of a relationship with the business. You just fall in love with it for one reason or another. Now, that's not a sensible way of investing. And I did that with a lot of businesses when I first started. So I held a whole raft of them. Now I'm a lot more concentrated into the businesses that I genuinely want to be holding. So 2011, £14.65. So let's have a look and see what that's done to the chart. Because as I mentioned before, we're tracking our dividends ever since we first started to get them. So this is my dividend chart. There's January there, January 2024, £23.62. You can see all the way back that it is going in absolutely the right direction, the direction I want it to be going in. Now, over the course of the next few months, we're going to see some of those peaks again, some of those big months, April, June, September, December. Those are the really big months in my portfolio. Now, there's an app that I use. It's completely free. I'm not affiliated in any way, and I just want you to download it if you've got a dividend portfolio, because I think it is bloody awesome. It is called Stock Events. Let me pull it up, actually. I'll show you. So this is Stock Events. This basically tracks and analyzes your entire dividend portfolio. What you do have to do is a little bit of work up front. You put all your positions in there. You tell them what your the price you bought in at. That will work out what your yield on cost is, and it'll also work out what dividends you're going to get over the course of a year. And I just love to see it. So with my portfolio this year, with the exact holdings I have, without adding another penny, I'm going to be on track to get around £1,475 in dividends. Monthly, that's 122 quid. It even works it out to daily. It tells you what your yield cost is. So I'm at 2.51%, which is a yield on cost of 2.66%. You can look back on previous years if you held that portfolio, what it would have paid. Obviously, that's less relevant because you didn't have that much invested at that point in the past. But if I had this portfolio in 2022, nearly 1,900 quid, look, 2021, 1,200. What it also does is, this is the tab I use the most. So it's the second one from the left on the bottom corner. It tells you when the ex-dividend dates are, when the big bits of news are that have come out from the economies that you're invested in, when you are projected to get your dividends, and how much that dividend is projected to be. So I know 15th of February, day after my birthday, I'm going to get a little present from Apple, and they're going to give me £3.56. I really like to be able to see what's coming up, what I can expect to receive with my existing portfolio. So like I say, it's completely free. I'm not affiliated. Hopefully it just helps you guys. If you haven't got it already, I'll put a link somewhere. Look for it.